If your reality feels different lately, but you cannot explain exactly why, this message is for you. Maybe nothing obvious has changed. You still wake up in the same room. You still see the same walls, the same streets, the same names on your phone, the same routines waiting for you. But something beneath the surface feels unfamiliar now. It feels like you are standing inside your own life. Yet the atmosphere has shifted. The lighting is different. The silence is different. Even your own reflection may feel slightly new, as if someone inside you crossed an invisible threshold, while the outer world was still pretending nothing happened. You are not here by accident. You did not randomly find this message. Your consciousness was drawn here because a part of you already knows the truth. Something has shifted. Something has moved. Something inside your field is no longer operating from the same timeline you were living in before. And this is why reality feels strange. Not because you are lost. Not because you are confused. Not because you are imagining things. But because your awareness has begun stabilizing inside a different energetic framework. And your old reality has not fully caught up yet. Most people think a timeline shift would feel dramatic. They imagine lights flashing, sudden miracles, instant changes, obvious proof. But the deepest timeline shifts often begin quietly. They begin as a subtle disturbance in the familiar. A strange distance from the version of life you used to accept. A feeling that the old story is still visible, but it no longer has the same authority over you. That is the hidden key. The shift is not always something you are waiting for. Sometimes the shift has already happened. And what you are feeling now is the echo of your consciousness, learning how to live inside the new reality. The first sign is this: familiar things begin to feel unfamiliar. You may walk through a place you have known for years and suddenly feel like you are seeing it from behind a veil. It is not that the place has changed. The furniture is still there. The buildings are still there. The people may still behave in familiar ways. But the energy is not the same. Something feels slightly removed. Almost dreamlike. As if your awareness has taken one step back from the reality it used to be completely absorbed in. This happens because a timeline shift does not always replace your entire world at once. It changes the observer first. And once the observer changes, everything being observed begins to feel different. Think of reality like a quantum mirror. For years, that mirror reflected the identity you kept repeating. Your fears, your assumptions, your emotional patterns, your old decisions, your familiar reactions. The mirror showed you a life that matched the version of yourself you believed you were. But then something changed inside you. Maybe you stopped believing an old limitation. Maybe you finally released a person, a story, a wound, or a version of yourself that had been controlling your field for too long. Maybe you did not even know the exact moment it happened. But your observer changed, and now the mirror is reflecting something new through the same outer images. That is why your room may feel different. That is why certain conversations may feel empty. That is why old habits may suddenly feel artificial. That is why you may look at your life and think, I know this is mine, but it does not feel like me anymore. This is not a sign that something is wrong. This is a sign that your identity has moved faster than your physical circumstances. The old self no longer fits inside the old script. The role you used to perform feels heavier now. The reactions you used to repeat feel unnatural. You may still know how to be the old version of yourself, but it takes more effort than before. Something in you refuses to collapse back into that frequency. This is the first confirmation. Your reality feels different because the self observing it has changed. But the next sign is even stranger, because after a timeline shift, time itself begins to ripple. You may have noticed this already. Some days feel strangely long, as if every hour is stretched thin across your awareness. Other days disappear so quickly that you look back and wonder where the time went. You may wake up feeling like you lived an entire lifetime in a dream, then return to your normal routine with the sense that something invisible happened while your body was resting. This is what happens when your consciousness is adjusting to a new temporal rhythm. A timeline shift is not just a change in events, it is a change in your relationship with time. The old timeline carried a certain rhythm, a certain emotional tempo, a familiar sequence of expectation. reaction, disappointment, and repetition. Your nervous system became accustomed to that rhythm. It learned when to tense, when to protect, when to expect the same outcome. But when your consciousness moves into a new timeline, the rhythm changes before the mind understands it. This creates time ripples. Imagine dropping a stone into a still lake. The stone disappears beneath the surface, but the water continues moving. Circular waves spread outward. The lake does not become calm instantly. It takes a moment for the surface to reorganize itself around what just entered it. That is what your reality is doing. Your shift has entered the field. Now time is rippling around it. This is why you may experience déjà vu more often, not just the ordinary kind, but the deep kind. The kind where you are in a conversation and suddenly feel that you have lived that exact emotional moment before. The same tone, the same pause, the same look in someone's eyes, and for a second, you are not sure whether you are remembering the past or sensing a nearby timeline. These are temporal echoes. They happen when your awareness passes close to probability streams that still carry the imprint of other versions of your life. You are not going backward. You are not losing your mind. You are sensing how close certain realities are to each other. Sometimes, after a timeline shift, you will know what someone is about to say before they say it. You will think of a song, then hear it. You will feel a memory that does not belong to your current path, but somehow still feels emotionally true. These moments are not random. They are signals that your consciousness is becoming aware of the fluid nature of your timeline. But the real proof of a timeline shift is not time distortion. It is the way people begin responding to you differently. After a timeline shift, some people will feel closer to you for no obvious reason. Conversations may become more honest. Strangers may open up to you. Certain connections may suddenly deepen, as if an invisible wall has been removed. But others may begin to feel distant. People who once had easy access to your energy may seem irritated by your calmness. They may misunderstand you more often. They may try to pull you into old versions of yourself, or they may quietly fade from your life without any dramatic ending. Do not fear this. This is frequency realignment. When your inner state changes, your energetic connections begin to reorganize. Every relationship exists inside a field of resonance. Some people are connected to your authentic self. Others are connected to a role you used to play. Some love your growth. Others only recognize you when you are performing the version of yourself they understand. After a timeline shift, the field begins to reveal the difference. This is quantum entanglement at the level of human experience. You are not separate from the people around you. Your patterns, emotions, beliefs, and expectations have been interacting with theirs for years. When your frequency changes, the connections must adjust. Some become stronger because they were always aligned with your becoming. Some weaken because they were only bonded to your wounds. This is why you must stop chasing what begins to leave. Not every departure is a loss. Some departures are proof that your new timeline is clearing space. Think of your old life as an invisible script. For a long time, you may have been acting inside scenes you did not consciously choose. You knew your lines. You knew your emotional cues. You knew when to shrink, when to please, when to doubt yourself, when to expect rejection, when to repeat the same ending. But after a timeline shift, the script begins rewriting itself. Characters change, timing changes, opportunities appear in strange ways. The old dialogue no longer lands the same, and you may feel uncertain because you are no longer being guided by the familiar pain that used to organize your reality. This is where many people panic. They feel the old world losing its grip, but the new one is not fully solid yet. They try to run back to what is familiar, even if what is familiar was hurting them. They mistake uncertainty for danger. They mistake energetic rearrangement for failure. But you are not failing. You are being moved. You are being reorganized into a reality that can hold the version of you that is no longer willing to betray itself. And now we come to the hidden shock point. The reason your reality feels different after a timeline shift is because the old timeline does not disappear instantly. It echoes. This is the part most people are never told. When you shift timelines, the old reality may still appear around you for a while. Old emotions may still rise. Old people may still reach for you. Old fears may still whisper. Old circumstances may still look unchanged. And because of this, many people assume nothing happened. But that is not true. The old timeline can still echo after your consciousness has already left it. Your body remembers the old timeline. Your nervous system remembers how to survive there. Your mind remembers the old evidence. Your emotions remember the old pain. Your habits remember the old identity. So even after your awareness chooses a new frequency, the rest of your system needs time to synchronize. This is called observer lag. Observer lag is the gap between the timeline your consciousness has selected and the reality your body has learned to expect. You may have already shifted, but your body is still bracing for the old outcome. You may have already changed, but your mind is still scanning for proof that life will disappoint you again. You may already be standing in a new field, but your emotions are still reacting to the ghosts of the previous one. This is why the transition feels strange. You are not in the old life anymore, but you can still hear it. It is like looking through holographic glass. The new reality is in front of you, but the glass still carries cracks from the old one. Light passes through, but it bends around the fractures. You see possibility, but you also see fragments of fear. You feel expansion, but you also feel the memory of contraction. This does not mean the shift failed. It means integration has begun. The old timeline is not calling you back. It is only echoing because your body still remembers it. And here is the truth that changes everything. Your reality feels different because you are no longer observing it from the same self. Read that again inside your body. You are no longer observing it from the same self. The version of you who normalized the old pain is fading. The version of you who believed the old limitations is dissolving. The version of you who kept choosing the same emotional collapse is losing authority. And because that old observer is no longer fully active, the reality it maintained can no longer remain stable in the same way. This is the real shift. Not just a new event. Not just a new opportunity. Not just a sudden manifestation. The real shift is the collapse of the old observer. Once the observer changes, the timeline must eventually follow. But now, your task is not to go back and check whether the old reality still exists. Your task is to stabilize the new one. And stabilization begins with coherence. Most people make one mistake after a timeline shift. They keep checking the old reality for confirmation that the new one is real. They look at old circumstances and ask, has it changed yet? They look at old people and ask, do they see me differently? Yet they look at old evidence and ask, am I really in a new timeline? But the moment you seek proof from the old timeline, you begin feeding your attention back into it. Your attention is not passive. Your attention is a collapsing force. Wherever you send it with emotion, you strengthen that field. So if you keep observing the old reality with fear, you may begin reanimating patterns that were already losing power. This is why coherence matters. Coherence means your attention, emotion, body, and choices begin moving in the same direction. You are no longer saying, I want a new life, while emotionally preparing for the old one. You are no longer declaring a new timeline while obsessively scanning for old threats. You are no longer trying to shift while secretly identifying with the version of you who never believed the shift was possible. Coherence is the anchor. You do not hold a new timeline through force. You hold it through alignment. So pause for a moment. Take one slow breath in. Let it fill your chest. Now release it. Take a second breath in. Slower than the first. Feel your body noticing that you are here. Release it. Now take one final breath in, as if you are breathing from the version of you who already belongs in the new reality. And as you release it, place your hand over your heart and say quietly inside yourself, I am safe in the reality I have shifted into. Say it again. I am safe in the reality I have shifted into. Not because everything is perfect, not because every detail has appeared, not because the old world has vanished completely, but because your nervous system must learn that the new timeline is not a threat. Many people sabotage their shift because peace feels unfamiliar. Expansion feels unsafe. Love feels suspicious. Ease feels unstable. When the body has lived too long in survival, the new timeline can feel strange, simply because it is not built from the same fear. So you must teach your body that different does not mean dangerous. Different can mean free. Different can mean healed. Different can mean your life is no longer being organized around the wound. But coherence is only the first step. The next step is embodiment. Because the new timeline cannot hold an old posture, you cannot keep walking like the old self and expect the new reality to recognize you. You cannot keep shrinking in the same rooms, using the same excuses, speaking to yourself with the same cruelty, choosing the same emotional compromises, and then wonder why the shift feels unstable. Embodiment means your body begins to act like the timeline has already accepted you. This does not require dramatic action. It begins in small choices. You answer differently. You pause before reacting. You choose not to explain yourself to someone who only understands the old version of you. You take a different route. You clean a space that still carries old energy. You delete a message you would have sent from fear. You say no without turning it into a performance. You say yes without apologizing for wanting more. These micro choices matter. Every small choice tells the field. I am no longer available for the old script. And if you want to anchor this physically, do this simple ritual. Take a piece of paper and write, "This old script no longer observes for me." Look at the words. Feel what they represent. Not hatred toward your past, not rejection of your journey, just completion. Then tear the paper. Let the sound mark the ending. The power is not in the paper. The power is in the signal you send through your nervous system. Your body understands action. It understands gesture. It understands the moment something is done. And as you tear it, say, "I release the observer who kept choosing my old pain." Then breathe. Feel the space that opens. That space is where the new timeline enters more fully. Your new timeline does not need you to be perfect. It needs you to stop proving that you are still the person you used to be. And now, something even larger begins to reveal itself. Because your timeline shift is not only personal, you are not shifting alone. Across the world, many souls are feeling the same strange difference. They are waking up inside lives that look familiar, but feel altered. They are losing interest in old identities. They are feeling time bend. They are sensing old relationships dissolve. They are realizing that the reality they were taught to accept is not as fixed as they once believed. This is not random. This is collective awakening. Every time one person stabilizes a higher timeline, that coherence enters the larger field. It becomes easier for someone else to remember. Easier for someone else to stop repeating the old pattern. Easier for someone else to trust the impossible feeling inside their chest that says, "There is more than this." This is morphic resonance. One awakened pattern strengthens the possibility of another. Your shift matters because your consciousness is not isolated. You are part of a living field. When you stop collapsing into fear, you weaken fear in the collective. When you embody coherence, you make coherence more available. When you stop performing the old script, you prove that the script can be broken. You may feel alone at times because not everyone around you can name what is happening. But you are not alone. You are part of an awakening network that does not need physical proximity to be real. Think of consciousness as an ocean of possibilities. You are not a lost drop trying to find the sea. You are the sea remembering itself through one drop. Your timeline shift is one movement in a much larger tide. And every movement matters. So, if your reality feels different, do not rush to explain it away. Listen to it. The difference is speaking. It is telling you that the old version of life no longer has the same grip. It is telling you that your observer has changed. It is telling you that time is rippling because your field is reorganizing. It is telling you that people are shifting around you because resonance is being corrected. It is telling you that the old timeline may echo, but it no longer owns you. You are not here to return to who you were. You are here to stabilize who you are becoming. So remember the signs. Familiar things may feel unfamiliar because the quantum mirror is reflecting a new observer. Time may feel elastic because your field is adjusting to a new rhythm. People may react differently because your entanglements are realigning. The old life may still echo because your body is integrating the shift, and coherence is how you anchor the new reality. Do not be afraid of the strangeness. The strangeness is not proof that you are lost. It is proof that the old map no longer defines the territory. Your shift is not coming. Your shift already happened. Now your task is to become stable enough to receive the life that matches it. Place your hand on your heart one more time, and let this declaration move through you. I no longer return to the timeline that taught me pain. I stabilize the reality that remembers my power. I trust the shift. I embody the new frequency. I am safe in the life that is forming around my awakened self. And if this message spoke to the part of you that already knows, write this declaration in the comments. My new timeline is stable. Do not write it as a performance. Write it as a signal. Write it as an energetic signature. Write it as your conscious observer choosing not to collapse back into the old reality. Because something in you has crossed over. Something in you has stopped asking for permission to become new. And from this moment forward, every breath can become an anchor. Every choice can become a confirmation. Every calm response can become proof that the old self is no longer directing the field. You did not lose your old reality. You outgrew it.